Hi, this is Chuck Mahon. We're going to talk about a case, Pennsylvania Coal versus Mahon. And when I was in college taking this class, I always thought, you know, Mahon is very close to Mahon. It always caught my eye, so I remembered this case very well. Essentially, what you had is a company, Pennsylvania Coal, that owned this piece of land with, the land and then the mining rights underneath. They sold the land, the surface rights to the land, to this guy, Mahon. And Mahon, when he bought that, basically waived his right not only to the mineral rights, but to any damages that might occur to his surface rights from mining underneath. Okay? So he signed a contract that was built into the sale of this land that said this could all be mined someday and you could lose whatever you had. Now, the state of Pennsylvania had a law that said if you were going to mine underneath people's homes, you had to basically, you think of a mine coming in through here, you had to leave these pillars in place to keep the ground from subsiding. And that kind of created a more difficult situation for mining. It limited the mining company's ability to extract from here. But the state came by later and said, you know what, you can't even do this. If there's any chance that there's going to be subsiding up above and that the ground will go down where there's a house, you're not allowed to mine at all, period, whether you own the mining rights or not. And so when the mine started to go in, Mahon sued Penn Coal and said, you got to stop. I've got the rights to have my property, and if you mine here, you're going to undermine that, and I'm going to lose it. And so it went to the Supreme Court, and guess what the Supreme Court said? Was it a takings of the coal company to say they couldn't mine, or did Mahon have the right to his property, and that couldn't be violated by anything the coal company did? Well, the Supreme Court said Pennsylvania Coal has its land taken from it, or has its rights taken from it by the state because they had passed this law limiting their ability to mine that coal. Pennsylvania Coal held that land. They owned that right. They had signed that right away when they sold this property. Mahon did. He did not retain that right. And because it was a private agreement between these two, there was no real public interest at stake. And so the state had no role in determining whether or not this place could be mined in regards to the impact it would have on that property. This is one of the earlier Supreme Court cases. I want to say 1920s, 1922, set a precedent for what a regulatory takings would be. This is one of the early cases where the Supreme Court said you're actually taking a person's property through the regulation process.